My name's Charlie, and this is my story.
Kind of that's the kind of what I'm trying to do. To make
Okay.
it just make it more.
It's far away. My favourite cartoon character. Oh, lots of things have gone in my. I've gone for Mickey Mouse all of a sudden. That's the only one I can think of. No particular reason. He's got big ears. Anywhere in the world. I think it would be New Zealand, Australia, New Zealand. 15 minutes of fame. Cool, bene. Get into as many places as for free as possible, yeah. Hi, my name's Charlie and this is my story. I grew up in Canada, so my mum ended up there. She was doing a world tour and met my dad, who was Canadian. She settled, got married, bit of a whirlwind, and I came along. But it didn't work out well. By the age of 3, my mum and myself had left, and we left that little part of my family behind. I was never to see my dad ever again. We then travelled across Canada and ended up back in England. And by the age of 9, I was back in England. My mum was back with her mum, and I was off at school. And also during this time, my mum had a burst ulcer, and because she was an alcoholic, that turned into slight brain damage, and she then had to recover. And I was then left with the mum who couldn't work anymore, who had slight brain damage and was still an alcoholic. And during this time, I'm starting to go to this other church as well as going away to a boarding school. And I got to hear about Jesus, and I had Christian friends, and I heard that Jesus died for me. We went to a concert in London that a guy called Larry Norman was performing. He had long blonde hair, leather jacket, leather trousers, and he was actually talking in between his good rock music about his walk with Jesus. It was at that concert that I asked Jesus Christ into my life for myself. But we went off on a cycling holiday some months later, whatever, and we're in a field and we're just praying about that. And it was there that God just enlightened to me that I was just sat on a seat, just expecting things to change, you know, and that really I needed to stand up and to start walking a life of faith. And that's what I did. And things did change from that point. Once I realized I actually just had to start walking, you know, as a spiritual baby almost, you know, the Bible came alive. It was quite interesting. I was academically quite behind at this point, but the Bible came alive, and I was really intrigued by whatever the Bible had to say. The preacher might have been boring, but the Bible wasn't. And then another really growth point for my early years as a Christian, I started encountering Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses and discussing with them. They would come and like share their belief with me, and I was like, wait a minute, this is not the same as what I've just done in trusting in Jesus Christ. You're telling me something else. So I had to study them, learn my Bible more, and that was a great process. I grew so much during that time because I actually had to get my head stuck into the Bible to find out what it was. And the thing was, from that point onwards, I always just had a love. I wanted to tell people about Jesus. I had a hope in my life, which I didn't have before, because I was stuck at home before. I had an alcoholic mum who had brain damage. I had zero confidence in my life. And all of a sudden, God's Holy Spirit had come in my life, and I wanted to tell people about Jesus. And I was a chef. I was learning how to be a chef out of college, and I progressed and went to this hotel, and I worked a couple of years in this hotel, and which was a challenge, long hours and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I still wanted to tell people about Jesus. I ended up joining a ship, Operation Mobilization, is an American organization, and they had a couple of ships, and they'd go around the world. And I ended up joining one of these ships for a year and a half. But God had to provide for me to get onto that ship, which is amazing. And I just said, God, if you want me on there, which I really believe you do, then you have to do all these things. And by the time all those things had happened, I then phoned up to find out where the ship was. The ship was meant to be somewhere in Norway, but by the time all these things actually had happened, the ship was in Southampton, and I was in Camberley, Surrey. And I was like, wow. And I was just able to walk down there and to join that ship with my friends and saying goodbye to me. So that was part of my story. And so just to tie that all up just as much as I can, because so much has happened, but in the midst of hardship, God was still there. becoming a Christian doesn't mean that life is a bed of roses. My mum wasn't miraculously healed. She was still an alcoholic. She still had brain damage, you know. She still needed me to look after her. And I had lots of ups and downs, but God was present. And so it's just been an exciting journey, just sharing Jesus with people, but seeing how real God is in the process of still being able to help me and supply for my needs and lead me on. So yeah, that's my story. I'm Charlie.